Welcome back to the Abundant Harvest Homestead. As some of you may know, we actually gave our entire land a Sabbath year of rest last year, so we did not garden at all. We enjoyed some of the stuff that came up on its own, ate that fresh. We didn't preserve anything, we didn't plant anything, we didn't prune anything. It was a very different year for us. But that said, now we're very excited to be back to gardening. I'm going to try to do at least monthly, possibly bi-weekly garden updates. And for this one, I'm just going to show you the beds. I'm going to leave the fruit trees out of it. If you guys want to kind of check on all the fruit trees in the property and what's going on there, leave a comment below. I'll show you that, because there's a couple things I've learned and some stuff that I was just explaining to my dad when he was here visiting. There's a reason I like the way we do it versus how a lot of people do it, and there's such a difference. So if you're curious, leave a comment that you'd like to see that, and then let's roll. As we enter, there's a gate my daughter just opened, okay? So this is the drive-through for my garden area. I can drive up and around, and outside our poultry area, we have a number of raised beds. Here I've got some tomatoes starting in the back row, coming up that fence. There's a nice fence there, some rebar, chain link fence. Tomatoes are coming up there. I see a volunteer passion fruit back there. They grow wild here, so we let them grow where they grow and train them up something. I've got a whole video on those where this stuff has just been covered in the past. Those are like the fruit snacks of the forest. They are awesome. So these are some dragon roll peppers. They're setting fruit and getting their thing started. I'm excited about that. And there's hopefully going to be toothache plants filling in the bottom of that. Some marigolds over here, another volunteer passion fruits. And then right now there's peas coming around, but I think I'm either doing Uraizun Japanese wing beans or maybe Chinese red noodle beans around the perimeter. Cover these cattle panel archways. Okay, we've got those going through. Next one here, same thing. Got some tomatoes heading up the back. I've got some jalapenos. Guineas. I know there's a disturbance in the area. They are such a good alarm system. I just pulled in to record this before it gets too dark. They're noticing. These are what those passion fruits look like. So they're just sprouting up right now. And I think there should be some purslane I planted as a ground cover in this area. We'll see how they do. Some Chinese red noodle beans coming up the back. And peas growing as well. I like growing peas up everything. I would have planted them a lot earlier. I did a video the other year about the peas know that they know when they're supposed to sprout. So I planted a bunch the other December, and I think they sprouted at the end of February. They covered everything to begin with, and then I just planted my normal stuff at its normal time. They started growing up, the peas went out, and they came up. But it gives me an opportunity to have more harvests up something like that. And of course, peas don't make it, you know, what is that, 7 feet in the air? But the other stuff does. Here, oh, I gotta take this out. This is one of those native hummingbird vines. They're pretty, but I don't need them being in competition with my food stuff. Got a bunch of gypsy peppers here, a bunch of little ones. More volunteer passion fruits. I really don't mind that at all. Another one here. These are some little lettuce green stuff I was planting. And here's where we planted some grapes. So you can see they are in their process right now. That's really weird. Why is that moving like that? Somebody's up in there. But we got a bunch of grapes doing their thing right now. This should be just covered later. I pruned it back when I got back to gardening. And then here, I think this is sweet peppers. So I'll just kind of skip it for now. And this is one where somebody was working in this one too. You see a couple of the peaches had their fruit fall in the storm last night, which is fine. There's a bunch up there. Sneak peek if you guys want to see more. On the perimeter here, I do have grapes growing, but then I put in some tomatoes as well that I'm just going to train up, because the grapes are kind of starting at the higher section. So let tomatoes fill in as an annual beneath there, and then use beans as a ground cover. So they're sprouting up now. A little different. Also, look at that, seedling peaches. That's a peach seedling. That bigger one there, that's a peach seedling. Pretty cool. I gotta clear this whole area up. I've got a lot of work to do. Look at this. Bunch of pokeweed, there's some stinging nettle, other stuff. The irises are from Bobblehead Homestead, Groovy Eggs Enterprises, Groovy Eggs Farms, but I got to clean this whole area up. Part of the reason I just brought in another load of mulch. And here's what I was working on earlier was this row of figs. The girls are gardening back there this year, got some stuff going. I'm letting these figs grow. And then here, we took a year off of gardening, like I said. This used to be kind of sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes, but there's only a couple left in there. And all these ones came out this way. So I'm actually going to lift the ones, put them back in there, and mulch. This is going to be the plan. I got sorghum coming up in there though. These are all fruit trees across here. Let's hit the inner circle and then we'll go through the regular garden. This is a bunch of little white icicle white icicle radishes. And then I've got, I think it's zucchini. It's either that or some crookneck squash growing up in here. I'm going to actually add some rabbit manure to here too. But the white icicle radishes supposedly help deter some of the pests from the squash and stuff. And I got to have somebody come up that back trellis. This one here, I just had some friends over and they were kind of amazed because they're new to this area and a lot of the ground is rock and clay. And I was showing them that after a couple years of amending this soil, look at this. Like if I want to weed this right now and then plant it, here's how I do it. Okay? Just run my fingers through it like that. Okay. Even these big ones. So I'll throw that cutworm in the pond. But now it's weeded there. And then if I wanted to plant, I just dig down. It's easier some places than others. I think up here is where I was showing them and I was just able to go, yeah, way down. That's about an 8-9 inch hole right now, but that's what happens with the way I garden. That's the growing medium. And a lot of it is this old wood mulch. After about 2 years, it kind of turns into that, which is pretty cool. Hey, Bug! Toss this cutworm in the pond. A couple of them snipped off some of my, whatchamacallits, peppers already this year. But a bunch of marshmallow growing there. So the idea for some of this, Mama Pepper said she wants the outside of this fence just covered in thornless blackberries. So here's where I had them before. Coming across, there's gonna be so many flowers up in there. Boris could get a wall of thornless blackberries for this whole thing. Here's where I've got some blue curly Scotch kale starting to come up. Got some mustard greens up the middle. That's the actual sunchokes. I can only link so many videos and I'll put them as cards at the end, but check out some of that stuff too. This is about a 5x5 or a 6x6, somewhere between 25 and 36 square feet. But I'll pull 100 pounds of sunchokes out of there on a yearly basis. You can see a couple of them are escaping. They're coming off in the paths, but yeah, and I wrap wire around them just to kind of keep them going up. But it's amazing what comes out of there. This all has to be weeded and planted. Same thing here. There are some peas growing, and I've got some snake gourd started, but I got to go get my actual biggest snake gourd ever and get it planted out here. A couple of them there. Hopefully later this year they'll cover this whole trellis and look amazing. These guys are getting eaten pretty hard, but these are more volunteer passion fruits. All this dried stuff here is from them for last year. Here's some of the potatoes we got from Seeking Discernment. I've got to hit this with some ashes from the smokehouse and then add another layer on here and keep this thing going. But back there and here are those. And then I've got ghost peppers for the first time in years in here with some marigolds. More volunteer. See, it's these bugs here. There they are. Oh, they all jumped away. There's a bunch of them, but this is the native passion fruit, and those bugs love coming on. There's a bunch of them here. Just little little beetles. So, we got some dill sprouting up in here. I think there's also, basil maybe in the back row, it looks like. Looks like. This is wild elephant garlic in the back row here. And some other just wild garlic. I gotta fill this in. I think I was gonna have cilantro grow here. This is the native white horehound. It just does amazing once you cultivate it a little bit, you know, put it in better growing medium, give it some attention. I think I've got some Chinese red noodle beans that are gonna sprout up this fence to kind of fill in some of the blanks where the thornless blackberries are not yet. I'm going to do a full video just on these trees, but this is actually trifoliate citrus. Trifoliate meaning three-leafed, and there's so many fruit on here right now. They'll make a yellow fruit like that. That'll have like 40 or 50 seeds in it, so pretty seedy with a little bit of rhubarb and stuff growing underneath it. Pretty seedy, but cool to be able to grow a citrus right here in the Ozarks. And yeah, this is the first year it ever flowered and fruited for us, so we are really excited. Here's where the red-stemmed Malabar spinach that I planted in 2018 reseeds itself. Here you go, see, here's some seeds, but it reseeds itself and comes up every year after year after year. And then down here there's some clary sage. Peas growing right now. I think I put a couple, Chinese red noodle beans are coming up for the entranceway archway. There are some tomatoes that I'll be training up here too. Just kind of a mixed mess of things. This is hops. Don't plant hops just randomly in your garden. And if you do, don't plant asparagus in front of it because it overtakes the asparagus. Here's a female one going to seed, which is nice. That's why I don't get a hybrid male variety. I like having seeds because then your seeds, let's see, see like right here. Well, that's a big caterpillar. Who are you? A little tent caterpillar of some sort. But these are all growing from seed, all this asparagus. These are volunteers from seed, so I get more if I have a variety that reproduces. Here's peas growing up for right now. This is where the sweet potatoes are gonna go. And I think there's a volunteer pepper right there, so I'm not sure who that is. This is my figs, the brown turkey figs, and I'm going to do an experiment with these this year. I'm also growing sunflowers over the top of them, and there's catnip around them. Here I've got to take this big bush cherry, cut it back. These little like sand bush cherries I got to pull out of here. There's one on this side, one on the other side. I'm gonna do a bunch of propagating because I can make so many more, but they're not going to do well here, and this guy's got to be pruned back and cut. Here right now I've got the peas doing their thing. Like I said, I planted them later than I normally would. Johnson grass, don't want that here. Another Johnson grass. Maybe not, that might be a different guy. But then now the noodle beans are coming up, so these guys will be up, do their thing, give me some peas, and those noodle beans will come up and take over. Same thing on that side. A lot more peas on that side. Hey, that dog is not supposed to be in the garden area. It messes up too many things. It already broke a couple of those over. Dog, please carefully follow Bug out. Oh, did all those fall on the ground in the storm? Let me see, Bug. Son, please take this dog out of here. Let it into that gate there, and then remove it. Can you show me?
They're on the ground over there.
Yeah, they fell in the storm. That's okay, because there's a lot of fruit on there. Down here I got some thyme under these fruit trees. Here's where I've got my muscadine grapes growing. A big old trellis I did. They're flowering right now. Looking forward to see what they did. I actually pruned them back pretty good this year when I got back to gardening, but they also got frost hit at the top. And then I find here, yeah, do you see that? You might want to take it to your mother.
Yes, sir.
When you return the dog to the other side, take that red strawberry. I did not pick the strawberries off. These are all new strawberries I put in this year. but I find they don't do best in full sun. So that's why I've got this big strawberry bed under the muscadine grape trellis. That's cold hardy kiwi trellis. There's 4 big plants on it, some male, some female, and then 2 little ones growing. So I've got some Chinese red noodle beans filling in some blank over there. This I still have to plant here. This is, you know, a cattle panel that just got trashed. Last year it fell over. This bush cherry, see, it's making cherries. That's a lot of cherries, kind of, actually, on that branch. There's almost a dozen, yeah, between there and here. So maybe I'll wait for them to produce before I move them. At least that one. But I gotta change this. Part of the goal here was I keep mulching this and doing things, and it keeps getting richer and richer soil. So part of my goal was just to eventually turn this into a perennial food forest. And, you know, as we age in place, make something more gardeny up towards the house and just have fruit trees and vines and bushes and stuff. But even if I do that, stuff like this isn't going to work. That ninking bush cherry took over those sand cherries way too much and stuff. Dill. We're actually pickling some eggs right now, so I'm going to cut back some of this dill. I just rabbit manured these Egyptian walking onions. I'm so excited for those. Those are one of my favorites. This area, don't plant creeping Charlie near your garden. That's what the lesson is there. This one grew from seed, this gooseberry. I got a persimmon tree there I left, and I filled in gooseberries underneath it. And this one came from seed from that. Aronia berry with, I haven't made it back through this, you know, in like a year. I think this is probably Johnson grass too. We'll see. Too much stuff going on up here. I got to rework this whole area. Apricot tree died. I'm gonna actually move this one out of here. It's a big old wild plum. Some of those guys underneath there, the Egyptian walking onions, also a Yasta berry. Here was a hugel mound I had. It's planted with peppers right now. With volunteer passion fruit too. But I got to fill in some blanks from some of the ones that died. Last year was really dry, so I actually lost all but one of my golden raspberry plants on the upper edge. Nopales, the pad cacti, those are tasty. Horseradish up here. Lemon balm took over this area. And a bunch of Egyptian walking onions. When I get bulbs for them this year, I'll offer them up on Etsy again. I didn't do that last year. But those are amazing. I love the stems. Just great plant to have around. Working on a rock wall on there to kind of prevent all the weeds and seeds from washing down. More peppers there. Korean goji berries. A chase tree with some volunteer potatoes. They've been there for years. We always seem to miss some. And then I'm growing some beans here. Still got to plant that bed. Nothing really going on in it, just lamb's quarter, wild lettuce, and dill. Maybe a little bit of mullein. And then up over here, yeah, see, these are all baby plum trees from the root system of this guy. This guy's fruiting and doing stuff, and they're good to graft into and other things, but it needs to be out of here. You guys probably can't even see that. I'm shooting up in the sky. Yeah, there's some fruit anyway. And then up here, when it gets all wildery, I'm going to see if I can have some of my children help me just weed through here, remalt stuff. Here's the Chinese goji berries, which do better through the winter. I just think that in general, the Korean goji berries do better in this area. And then here's just a whole bunch of the native gooseberries, but they are just covered in fruit right now. They'll ripen to purple. But I just kind of brought some in here, and they took off, just with mildly interacting with them. But, you know, this is not how the garden's supposed to look. Look at all that creeping Charlie. Oh, another volunteer gooseberry. So I'm going to lift some of those, move them, take some of the fruit trees out of here. I've done that before. I got to learn my lesson. You know, that guy's dead now. I got a ways to go, a lot to do. My work cut out for me, but I'm glad to be back at it, continuing on taming the land, continuing. I mean, even look at this, okay? Here's where I've been mulching through, remulching, and then here's the old walkway. So this is just the old walkway. I didn't garden it all last year, remulched the path up to there. But what I'm able to do then is come in, yeah, that was a rock. And look at this. This is the soil now. So if I go down far enough, see, there's the actual clay. This is my soil I got when I came here. And then on top of that layer is all this wood mulch that is composted for, well, over a year now. So this gets thrown in here to build the raised beds up. I'll scrape this bare to that clay level, and then I'll build the mulch back up and remulch the paths. So each year I kind of do that. Look at this too. I like stuff like this, like where the rock catches water. A lot of lizards up in this garden, part of our organic pest control posse. But then by doing that, you know, like even here, again, I'll have to weed this to plant it, okay? So there. Now that area is weeded. And then to plant it, I can dig down like that, put something there that's good minerals and nutrients and stuff for the plants down in that clay level. And then, you know, tuck the plant back in, let it grow up. We amend it with other things too. Rabbit manure, like I said. And I make some different fertilizers, but it works good. These raised beds just keep getting deeper and richer over the years. And then we're able to have a better growing area for all of our food. That's kind of the garden right now. It's kind of a mess, but it was so brown earlier, so just to kind of come in and see different sections of green popping up like that, very exciting compared to how it was. I've got my work cut out for me. Thankfully, doing things like this allows me to document my progress and how things are going. Settle down, dog. It's not supposed to be up here. But we'll see you next time. If you want just something on the actual fruit trees, I can show you some things about those that I'm really happy with, really excited about, and really enjoy working. And oh, here, I'll give you one more sneak peek of a project in the works. If you look up here, here's what a lot of this area looked like. And then for a bit now, see this? I've been weeding the whole thing, pulling it back. So all that later, maybe even today, all that green weeds will be gone and it'll be mulched. I have my reasons. But I've got 7 different beehives right now. And I'm actually going to clear a section out here, make a big stand, and stand them all up in a row. So all our bees will be in the same area. I like having them here in the central area of the garden, you know, right in the middle of the drive-through for me. And we also seem to find a lot of the swarms because we're able to see them. Oh, if you saw the last video, oh, they moved her. We popped this over the top of Mama Turkey because she moved from her place there. Once it was just old eggs that were cracked and a dead baby, she moved all the chicks over here just to distance herself from that scent. So we put this over her last night in the storm, and they moved her actually to the mini bar now. Having things like that I can just carry over work pretty well, makes sense. I gotta put this caterpillar in the pond, let the fish eat it. But for now, that's the garden tour. I got a bit to do before sundown hits while I can still see out here, so I'm gonna get back to work and we'll see y'all later. Papa out.
Thank you for watching. Hit the like button. Thumbs up. But well.
The cow head is good?
Yeah.
That's because you know.